There we are. Hello. Welcome to episode 24. And in today's episode, we're talking about the Thriver formula that Kristen and I use, which you'll get to meet shortly. But we use in the Thriving Blind Academy. It's like the foundational principles of our teaching and all the things we do. And we're excited to bring this to you today. My name is Charlie Collins. I do some coaching, speaking. I help kind of, wake up that programming inside that isn't serving you and help put you on a better path. Something I had to do in my life. And with me today is, as usual,
hi, everybody. My name is Brenda Hayden. It's great to be here today. I'm so excited to learn about thriving. And I am the founder of Time for a 10. We're an emotional intelligence, emotional awareness coaching service. We teach people how to inventory their disturbances so they can get at the exact nature of their conditioned thinking and challenge that thinking so they can have a better life. Hi, Kristen.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. Do I get to introduce myself now? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kristen Smedley. It's a Saturday morning. I'm not typically live on a Saturday morning, so you get fully caffeinated Kristen. Now I'm excited to be here and meet Brenda, hang out with Charlie again, and talk about the Thriver formula that we've developed over the past couple of years working in Thriving Blind Academy. And I literally love this thing because it is a solid group of letters that is helping us thrive no matter what. So I'm happy to hang out here today.
And if Kristen was going to kind of list books and TED Talks, and we would be here another 15 minutes. So thank you. Excuse me. So Kristen and I, a few years back, started Thriving Blind Academy. And we went to Jack Canfield's Success Principles. And we're teaching success principle inside of the academy, because in the blindness world, 76% or so of blind people are unemployed. It has a massive rate of people dropping out of schools, college, 85% dropout rate. And then kids that are moving from, if they make it through college, they fail and they don't get the job and they fall back into the system, or from high school. So the numbers were astronomical, and it's not giving them a white cane or a really good Braille device, because that's all there. And then the next area we saw a problem was in the family. And Kristen knows, and she has raised two of her boys that were born blind. So, but what we saw in the family unit was a lot of enabling. And we always say enabling is disabling. And not allowing these kids to find their path within. And Kristen, I read the forward to your book, and Eric Weinmeier.
Weinmeier.
I'm sure I didn't say that right, but anyway, he's probably not going to come after me. He said the same thing. Mom cried, "Oh my God, I can't do this." And then she helped him figure out how to thrive in life. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm just going to kick it off with T, first letter. And we refer to this as tools. And tools can be mental, emotional tools, could be physical, what I'm doing to take care of this. And it could be spiritual. It could be adaptive technology. It could be a network. It could be, what tools do you need in your day, in your week, in your month to thrive? And are they in a box, a toolbox? Are they organized? Do you know where they are? Do you know what's missing? Maybe you need to add a new tool. And so we go into this very in depth inside the academy because we notice that people might have the adaptive, they might have the magnifier, the lighting, and just like us, normal. Oh, well, that's right. I'm legally blind. Forgot for a second, but you might have a good car and you might have a nice house and a job, but the other areas, the tool is missing. So we kind of wanted to bring in the success principle formula to the Thriving Blind Academy. And then after about 2 years, all of a sudden, I don't know, whatever, Chris and I are like, Adoy, why don't we, every one of these, the word thriver aligns with all our teaching, and let's just recycle that. And it's been awesome. A lot new members have been coming in, and we've been having a lot of fun. So any other words on tools?
I could share about tools all day long, but you know what I really want to do today, because I've done, what is this, podcast number 24, and we share basically just about every week, we share about a specific tool, we share about a problem, and then we share the solution, and we introduce the tools, multiple tools usually, during that process. But I'm going to pass it to Kristen because I really want to listen to and learn from you guys about Thriver, because I think that you're really onto something big that can really infiltrate not just people that are blind or have some kind of physical disability, but even just how do you figure out what the problem is and then what tools I need to solve it. So I'm going to pass it on to Kristen and listen from the experts today.
Oh, well, thanks for that, Brenda. And I'm actually interested to listen to you all on this whole, what I consider the first step in the Thriver formula, and the first step in this whole T with tools is the mindset, right? What we're learning, Charlie and I working with all of these people across the country, across the world, in all different kinds of situations with blindness and actually a lot with disabilities now in general, is you can have all the tools. You can have a jam-packed toolbox, right? Overflowing with my boys had access to everything they needed, assistive tech, all the things. If the mindset isn't there to just make the decision that you're going to be a thriver, you can have everything in the world, and you're going to be in that 85% dropping out of college. You're going to be sitting at home on the couch. And honestly, and this is where this becomes very relative to everybody listening, whether it's blindness, disability, whatever you have going on in your life. I sat for 3 years after that first diagnosis and prayed blindness away every single night. And every single morning it was still there, and I was pissed off. And this was a 3-year cycle. Every single day. So you think about what's happening in your life right now. What do? We wish it away. We pray it away. If only. It shouldn't be, right? And when I finally realized, because it was, I can't even take the credit. It was my 3.5-year-old son, Michael, that came into the room one morning when I was at my lowest of lows, praying this thing away, and it wouldn't go away. And he said, "Mommy, isn't this the best day ever?" In that moment. And I literally was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, you're going to have a fraction of a best day. And all I asked him was, why would you think that this is the best day ever? And it was pretty dang simple. The sun was shining. He had all his toys, and he was so happy. He had the mindset of a thriver. He was born with it. I was the one blocking that, right? And I had waited my whole life to be a mom. That was my biggest dream come true. And I was the worst mom, being in his way of thriving. So I know it sounds very simple, but I mean, look, I was just at court yesterday, still in divorce court, still in this mega fight, and sitting there again thinking it shouldn't be this way. I want this gone. Why is this person still in my life? Why am I still back here? And I had to flip that switch, literally. Wait a minute. How can we make this the best day ever? How can I look at this through a thriver lens? What tools do I have that I can get through this? And as we were talking before we came on, ladies and gentlemen, ChatGPT helped me win in court yesterday. It was a tool that I pay $4 a month for, and I used that thing. But that's where it all begins, is at that mindset. And Brenda, I'm sure that you've worked with countless people that you see that too, is when you get your mind, literally anything is possible.
Yep. Excellent. And that leads us into H, because when you don't have that mindset, and another thing, Kristen, that you said was, do you can you access these tools in the moment too, when it's needed, when an emotion pops up, or when something I need to move through this adversity, I need to do so. But and that's what we find a lot in the academy is people don't know. They don't know there's a tool. They don't know how to, they're not interdependent, and they don't have resource. So we are going, okay, let's align this. Let's make it so when I hit the wall or something happens, I know what to do next. I don't just sit and go, poor me, for a month, a year, or whatever it takes. So, and then we go into handicapped. So handicapped is a word. And when you're going to Costco or wherever, and there's not one damn parking spot but those darn handicapped ones. And I can park in those. I don't drive, but I can say to driver, park there. I have one of those things you hang. And it's funny they give them to blind people who don't drive, but whatever. And anyway, but we moved it to handy capable. So because if you don't believe it's possible and don't believe in yourself, then you're handicapped. And we see that again so much in the world of blindness, is that the victim mentality. And what happened?
It looks like she got disconnected.
Oh,
She'll rejoin. Keep going.
or maybe she just she's done. Anyway, so that, Brenda, you working with Time for 10 and disturbances and people suffering, I guarantee, I know, because I do the same, that they handicap themselves with negative self-talk. And, it doesn't have to be legal blindness. It doesn't have to be a learning disability or, some sort of physical disability to be handicapped. We do it to ourselves all day long.
We do, Charlie. So Kristen's backstage, if you want to let her back in. I'm going to say good morning.
Let me think about that for a minute.
Hi, Trish. Thank you for the compliment on the new haircut. You're the best. Good morning, Carrie. Kate is here. We have our loyal faithfuls here. We're glad you guys are all here. And Kristen is back. So I wanted to just comment for a second on both thriving and handy capable. So when my son was 4 years old, he fell out of a Home Depot shopping cart when he was with his dad. And his dad wasn't doing anything wrong, was holding onto the cart. The carts would become unstable. My son stood up and fell out. And he shattered his skull on the left side of his skull, shattered like an egg on the concrete floor. Now, he was in the hospital for over a year. When he woke up from a several-week coma, he was incontinent, he was hemi-paralyzed, he was half-blind in each eye, no speech, no motor, and no memory. And he stayed in a wheelchair for, I'm getting chills, about 3 years before he was really able to walk. And he could only communicate through play therapy. So as he grew, we got him all of the tools that he needed to thrive, to be able to go to school, to be able to learn. We sent him to all the right schools. But one thing that we told him, my husband and I were separated at the time, but we both actually told him this, was that he was a miracle, that under any other circumstance, that most people would have died, and he didn't. So he grew up with that mindset of, I'm a miracle. I'm a miracle. So when he would be bullied or challenged or somebody would hurt his feelings, he had that in his mind, that he was a miracle. And nobody could take that from him. So that's a really good example in my life about how the mindset really can make a huge difference. And today, he works at Home Depot. He works full time.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been working there for 8 years. So no resentments. He's not carrying around this resentment, this victim mentality that look what Home Depot did to me either. So that's a really good example of how powerful that mindset can be. And he is thriving. And the other thing about the handy capable is that's another thing we told him was just keep going to therapy, keep doing the physical. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Today, you're fine. Today, you're getting by. Today, you have what you need. Like keeping him in the present moment and showing him what he was capable of. And those are really important things. And that can tentacle into all other areas of your life, whether it's a physical disability, an emotional handicap, a blocked thinking, ruminating, living in the past. These concepts that you guys are writing best-selling books about. Your Audible book is, a 15 right now on the list. So you should talk about that. Let the audience know about that. These principles are really important. Really important.
I serve when you ask, Brenda. Look at the ticker.
Charlie mentioned Eric Weihenmayer that did the foreword of Thriving Blind, and he did for Michael, Brenda, what you and your son's dad did for him. He put in Michael's little brain at 6 years old. That's when Michael met him, and I got to witness the moment of the change in how his brain was wired about blindness. Because Eric said to him, Eric is really cool and fun, and he would think it's hilarious that Charlie stumbles over his name. He's that kind of like super fun kind of guy. And he said to him, listen, you're going to have people tell you that you can't do things. And he's like, and I want you to say to them, hey, you have any friends that have climbed Mount Everest? Because Eric had just summited Everest. He was the first blind person to ever do that. He's gone on to climb all 7 summits of the world and done crazy things. But that's when Michael met him, when he just had come off Everest. And he's like, I want you to say to people, any of your friends ever climb Mount Everest? Because my friend Eric did, and he's blind. So get out of my way, and he solidified that in Michael's brain. And actually, I did a children's book because of that moment. It's geared towards 6-year-olds. What I can be is up to me, right? Forget what the world is telling us all kinds of messages of who we should be and shouldn't be, and who kids should grow up to be and what they should do. And when you have that mindset of, no, I'm gonna be me, I'm gonna do my thing here, and bringing it back to this H in handy capable, interestingly enough, in golf, handicap is like the number one word they talk about, right? It's leveling the playing field. So they embrace the handicap. Why aren't we embracing what our handicap is? What tools do we need to level our own playing field? And then getting out there and thriving. So really having that mindset and looking, as I always say, through the thriving lens. I mean, I look at everything. How would a thriver approach this, right? How would a victim approach this situation? How would a thriver approach this situation? And then embrace the tools that we need.
Right.
Down there, Charlie.
I have experience with both those lenses. And I joined a golf thing, whatever they call that stuff. But basically, somebody in high school passed away, and friends put together a tournament. And every year we'd go. And the first year I went, I received paperwork because I sponsored it through my company. And it named, and then it said handicap. And I'm like, what the hell would golf? So I wrote macular degeneration. I'm like, damn, these people are personal, but maybe they're going to let me get closer to the hole. And I got a phone call from my buddy, was cracking up. He's like, dude, that is not what that means. And I'm like, well, that's the only word. That's all I know about that word, And it was hilarious because I still don't know my handicap in golf. I could care less. I like driving the golf cart, but
of course you do.
But that was my first handicap. But I like what you said. So we have a mindset shift because of family. Family says, you got the power. You can do this. You got to believe in yourself. You'll find a way, all that kind of stuff is what I heard too. I didn't hear, I know it's hard, honey. Why don't you, maybe you shouldn't do that. Stop doing that. No to that. You shouldn't ride a bike. Don't play the guitar. Well, I'm not going to read Braille, but they tell blind people not to play an instrument because they won't be able to read Braille. It's like, tell that person to shut up. But whoops. And so we move now. We move because into another a letter, and this one is R. And this one is responsibility, having the ability to respond. Respond to what? My thoughts, to other people, to my emotions, to the outcomes I am producing in my life. And the ability to respond doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean I'm so happy with myself. It means that I now know that I am responsible for where I am in life, what I'm doing, who I hang out with, all that good stuff. And really, all the other letters don't even bother, because without this one at 100%, there is no hope, because we will start lying to ourselves in other areas of our lives. And then that will trigger the blaming, complaining, rationalize, justifying, making excuses, defending our positions. Like, well, I had to do it this way, and this is why I couldn't show up. And this is, oh my Lord, that person, run. I run from people like that. Because I was that guy at one time. Did not take, and 100% now, 99, that's good. But that dang 1% kind of pulls us back off course. So it's been a process. That was not an overnight. I remember in a conference, somebody said, there's not a person on this planet that can make you feel. Well, unless they punch you in the head, it hurts. That feels. But what they were talking about was people can't hurt you. People can't. And I'm going, dude, you weren't in line this morning at the coffee place. The guy in front of me was hurting me. He was slow. He irritated me. I was angry because of him. And then I realized, no. So we spend this alone is a 2-3 day seminar. And we do all sorts of fun exercises and different ways to really deepen the understanding of responsibility and how powerful it is when you take it in your own life.
Oh my gosh, Charlie, so powerful. You know, you're talking about being responsible for how you're feeling about yourself. You know, I remember I had a really challenging childhood. We won't get into the details because there's not enough time. But I walked around with a chip on my shoulder, like the world owed me something. You know, the world owed me something because my child was disabled. The world owed me something because of the trauma I experienced as a kid. And I wasn't looking at it with curiosity, or what is this experience here to teach me? How can I use this experience to help somebody else? It wasn't until later in life when I took responsibility that these weren't things that happened to me. They just happened. And then I was able to look at it differently and use that to help somebody else, be of service to somebody else. And when we take responsibility for how we are thinking about ourselves, you talked about nobody can make you feel a certain way. No one can make you feel anything. They can expose what you already feel about yourself, whether you're ready to, acknowledge that and take responsibility for that or not. You know, if somebody comes up to me and says I'm ugly, it's either going to hurt my feelings or not. If I believe I'm ugly, it's going to hurt my feelings. If I know that I'm not, I'm going to be like, what are you smoking? Give me some. That's how it's going to work. But so it's about what do you believe about yourself? And when I started looking at my deficits as opportunities to grow, to expand, to share with somebody else, to help somebody else through the same kind of thing. And that's what we do at Time for 10. We look at those disturbances that we all have. We all have them. And we shine a different light on it. We flip it, like you were talking about, Kristen, flipping the switch. We flip the switch. I was working with someone the other day, and she was wanting her partner to come. What's wrong with me? That I don't have a partner yet. And we flipped the switch and said, maybe he's not ready. Maybe your partner isn't ready yet. He's being prepared for you. And the lights went off, and it wasn't about her. It's about the universe getting things in order for her. Maybe he's not ready. Completely changes the picture. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm sitting here listening. I'm thinking, I think I came about life with quite the competitive advantage, because I was raised by, I have the most incredible parents, but my dad, he was raised in the most horrible neighborhood at the time in Philadelphia. And it was so bad. He literally he couldn't even finish high school because he was just needed to survive. Forget about even getting into thriving. He was trying to survive. Then he gets drafted to the Vietnam War, right? The country tells him he has to go do that, comes back, none of his friends make it back. He comes back, and then the country hates him for it, right? And he comes back into that situation in Philly, and he says, you know what? I want a better life. I want a better life for me and for my family that he had started with my mom. And he took responsibility and moved us out of the city to do the best that he possibly could for us. And me and my four brothers were, I mean, when you're raised by somebody that says, I'm going to take responsibility here, in all of he had every possible pass. Like the world would have given him a pass to not be out there thriving and let alone raising a thriving family, right? When you're raised with that kind of mindset, by somebody with that kind of mindset, you just look at it differently. And that was part of why I was so frustrated with myself in those 3 years that I feel like I wasted of sitting there crying, literally crying on the couch every day over blindness. And here was this opportunity with this little kid that was ready to go about life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not, Kristen, this is not how you were raised. Like, get your act together here. Which is also a testament to you can at any point in the journey flip that switch and look at it differently and take steps to fix it.
Yeah, this is good stuff. So now we move into I, right? PHRI.
It's like the ABCs, right? You have to sing that song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, okay, my turn. No, I'm just kidding. So we talk about independence and interdependence. Now, independence is I on a lot of my marketing materials in my old company, I would regain your independence. And because when you get whacked at 70 or whatever with an eye condition, that you no longer can read your mail, watch TV, drive a car, see around the house you had it set up for sighted, and it's overwhelming, and I can't do anything. And if you have a partner, get me this, do that, read my, and so I started saying, regain your independence. And one lady was sitting next to me, and she's like, how are you going to help me regain my independence? And I started saying, well, do you have your checkbook? Just kidding. And then I can help. No. And she said, yeah. So she goes, that's all sounds good, but I can't drive. And I said, and that's what made you independent? I said, that's transportation. I said, independence comes from a collection of thoughts where you have a belief that I can, and I get to live to my fullest ability each day. And she's like, she's like, I said, you could look at this differently. You could set the house up differently. You could read your mail through an electronic. I mean, it was so fun doing that because people that came in blocked, they had a disturbance. All right. Life sucks and I can't do anything. And then within a short amount of time, they're back in the game. Is it the same? No. But without a challenge, there is no change in life. So I would always challenge them. Are you just a little bit willing to open the door to what's possible? And if I got a yes, I always made a sale. But that wasn't my driving force. So an interdependence is don't go at it alone. I was that guy for a while because I fought so hard for independence. I don't want interdependence. That means bringing people in, forget it. And what a difference when you have a network, a team, a group, people you can reach out to, people that say, hey, I get a call, Charlie, I was talking to this guy, boom, 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 and it helps me grow and helps me help others.
The interdependence that you're talking about fosters independence. Mm-hmm. That's how it works, not the other way around. When I have a community of women in my life that when I have any kind of disturbance, I could pick up the phone, and we do this at Time for a 10, and I can walk through that disturbance with any number of these women. And you know what I do? When I have a disturbance, no matter how small it is, I go and do that. Because if I don't, then the next disturbance piles on, and the next one piles on, and the next one piles on. And then I'm in this little box that I talk about. I'm no longer down here in my heart where the divine lives. I'm up here. and I'm screwed when I'm up here in my head. Nothing good happens up there. Can't trust my own thinking when I'm in an activated state. And this community of women, time and time again, has completely changed my perspective on any number of things that might be going on a given day, because I can't always trust my own thinking. And it's enabled me to thrive in ways that I would not have otherwise been able to thrive. At 60 years old, I read a book by Dr. Lisa Miller, and I applied to Columbia University to go because I wanted her to be my teacher. I wasn't qualified to get into that school, but I did it anyway. Because I had a community of support that was saying, what do you get to lose? Just go do it. Anything can happen. And I went and I got in, and it's been a phenomenal experience, all because I was able to be independent in that way, because I had a community to rely on for support and advice, and it works.
To that point, our Thriving Blind Academy has a Monday call every Monday. Community, people, members that are in our community come in, and we talk about the Thriver formula for the first half, and then we get into how to apply it and what's going on in your world. And it's been so interesting. I mean, I'm just realizing now how much that community call really is about this inter and independence. Because I'll never forget the one time, we're listening to a lot of the people in that call are out there thriving with blindness, right? And one in particular, one of our favorites, Clark Reynolds, the blind Braille artist. I mean, he comes to our Succeed Without Sight Summit years ago, and he says, I want to be an artist. And he's in London. And everyone says in London that you can't be an artist if you're blind. And we're like, all right, we'll help you work through this. And he goes, and I want to incorporate Braille in the art. I'm like, you're killing me here, Clark. You're killing. Like, what other layers you want to add on to this that the world says no, right? But sure enough, he came through one of our courses with Charlie and I. We did that whole mindset thing, and Charlie had him, go be different. Don't just send your stuff to the galleries and all that. Call them, give them your personality, right? So fast forward 2 years, Clark is so incredibly successful, right? He's got all this stuff, and he's in the United States, he's in London, and he's on the community call one day and says, oh my gosh, after COVID had gone through and he was going to go back out to all of these galleries and stuff. And he said, I've really had a lot more vision decrease. And now I'm nervous. I don't know how to get out there. And what if I get there and somebody said, he had all those what ifs going on in his mind. Here's this person that is so thriving. And the community embraced that and gave him so many strategies. He literally started the call, slumped over in his chair, right? An hour later, he's standing up, right? Almost knocking his iPhone over, excited to get out there and try all of the strategies people gave. But it is such a testament to, I'm so glad that you brought this up, Brenda, having that community of whether it's 4 people or 400 people, right? Having the go-to community to help you figure out, when it is independent, when is it interdependent. And the most beautiful thing of all, and I'm sure that you guys will both attest to this, being able to be of service to that community, right? That is where I really see, I watched people on their Zoom screens light up being able to help Clark through that challenge. That's the beauty of interdependence.
Oh, whoops, sorry, it's my turn. I was thinking about.
I'm interdependent on you here, Charlie, to get my cue.
Well, I'm like on those calls, and I'm like, yeah, I'm totally listening to you. Yeah, I remember all that, and then it's like, oh, she stopped. What's the next letter?
Value. Let's drop value.
Yeah, value, and this is they're all important, but we also notice is that what we value and what value we come from, what's important to us, whether, and there's all sorts of things out there to help you understand what makes you tick, but really your experiences kind of would guide your decisions and choices. The people you're going to get a good understanding of what you value in life and within, and it's such a good component to add, and plus it's in the word, so we had to go with it. We weren't going to use Valvoline, but I remember when I didn't know, somebody said, well, what do you value? I'm like, true value. um, like, what are you good at? What makes you tick? And I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me such hard questions? I know what's wrong. I know what I don't want. I know what I don't like. But now you're asking me this whole other paradigm shift that I don't spend time in. And I got in touch with this stuff, and it's like, oh. And it's been so fun to watch people that we work with, all of us, and really help them see. So you value being on time, and it bothers you that other people are late once in a while. Yes. How could they do that? Well, it's not one of their values. They value relationship and connecting with you deeply. The time one just isn't in their, and it's like, I guess I could work with that. It's pretty cool stuff.
I love the thought of value. And I as well, Charlie and Kristen, I didn't really think about it till I started doing this work. I just kind of went with the flow. Whatever worked for me that day was what my value was. And it doesn't work like that today. It's so much deeper than what I want and what I think I need. It goes way deeper than that. I want to take a second. Oh, and by the way, I want to mention too, Time for 10, also on Monday, has a free community Zoom. And we put that out there on our YouTube channel. You can find the Zoom connection out there. And we also put it on TikTok. So before I forget, because this is my job, we have some comments that I want to shout out. Philadelphia. Somebody said Philadelphia. Deficits as opportunities, Trish says. That's powerful. And taking responsibility is such an important topic right now, especially when so many are being told. And that's so true. So many are being told that they are victims of this or that. When you embrace that victim mentality, you render yourself powerless. Mm-hmm. Whoa, that's fantastic. Thank you for all the comments. And I want to make sure I say good morning to Carrie, which I already did, I know, but I want to say good morning again. I just adore Carrie. Okay, your turn, Kristen.
This value, we could do a whole workshop on value, because I love that comment about the victim mentality. People are being told that we're victims. And I mean, you just scroll through your social media feed, and the victim mentality is all throughout. It's so pervasive right now. And so many, like I said earlier, I mean, people would have given my dad a pass, right? That he had no value anymore when he came back. People would give me a pass that what value are you really going to bring to the world? But, oh, you poor soul, you've got 2 blind kids. And I see it. I almost don't like to meet new people sometimes, because as soon as I say, and 2 of my kids are blind, and you get that, and I watch with my daughter when she went off to college last year, oh, your 2 brothers are blind. And she looks around like, are you kidding me? Blind people are elite. Like, wait a minute, which actually brings me to the point of, my daughter being the 3rd, and she's sighted. She was born into a family that valued accessibility, right? That everyone has worth, and we're leveling the playing field so that everyone can rise to what their talents and God's purpose for them is in this world. She was born into that. So she got watching her do life through that lens of everyone has unique value. She just goes about life differently, where she looks for what the value. I mean, she's a very, very gifted athlete, and she's been on so many teams at every level. And I will tell you that, not even as a mom brag, people come to me all the time, the parents of the other players, the players themselves, and especially the coaches, and notice how unique she is, because she sees value in every human being. She knows that we all have that we all bring value to the table. And the cool part with Carissa is she can bring it out in each player on her team. That's why she was always voted captain. I mean, she just made captain at the end of her freshman year in basketball. She was asked to be captain because she sees that and brings it out in everybody. Imagine if we went through our day knowing that every single human, even the knucklehead that is driving right on top of you behind you, right? Every single human has value in this world. And if we were to look at it that way and let that value shine, as opposed to all of our biases, right? All of our judgments, all of our things that we do in a day. Can you imagine at the end of the day what your day would be like? If you, I would challenge everybody to try that today. Look at everybody and look for that incredible value that they bring to your world.
Good thought. I think at the time that you were in a mood or whatever, and you went to the store and you said, you know what? I don't like anybody in here, but I'm going to smile at everybody, and I'm going to see what happens. And it shifted you. Now I can see you waving a towel out the car, pulling that guy over. But I hear what you're saying, right? Yeah, like that person doesn't value punctuality, but they value a deep connection, and it's like, I thought, the way I saw things was right. And if you didn't, you were wrong and stupid. and boy, is that dishonest. So let's jump into the next letter, which is, oh my God, E. And that is, let's see, I'll make up a new one to freak out Kristen. Nah, that's emotion. And what is that? What is emotion? What does that mean? It's energy in motion in our body. It's never a fact. It doesn't stay forever. It's something that passes. And we learned in our community, the emotions are a big part of decision making. So if I can't think greater than I feel, which I have experience with, I'm in trouble. And we are constantly bringing that and doing things around that, because if you're a victim and you got a family and a school system and a workplace, and you're not really connected to a lot of people, you're thinking about yourself a lot and poor me, and you might have some energy in your body that isn't all that attractive. And then you assign meaning to it. And I feel this way because of this outside of me, and I shouldn't feel this way. And you can go down a real good rabbit hole on this stuff now. But as we grow and we start learning that I'm feeling this way in this moment, am I responsible for it? Did I do something? Okay, I kind of look at it and then I say, that's it. And then I'm not going to try to change it because it's going to pass. I'm not going to fight it and say, go, you shouldn't be here. I'm busy. Because that never worked, because where our attention goes, our energy flows. So really, I'm activating this energy of an emotion in my body. I'm fighting with it. Go away. And, I've just learned so much, like, just let it pass. And did I do something to create it? Or did I allow someone in that I believed what they said or something, then I got upset over it? Or I don't know. That's the best one. I'm feeling this way, and I'm not going to try to assign meaning to it. I'm just going to move through it in the time it needs to pass on.
Yeah. You don't give it any value. We were talking about value, right? Don't give it any value. There's one thing that I do when I'm starting to experience an emotion that I don't like. And I learned this through lots of pain and, trying to fix the emotions, which I don't do anymore, is I stop and I consider what I was thinking of before I felt that. What was I thinking of before this emotion rose up inside of me? And then I challenge that thought, because 9 out of 10 times it is based in a dishonest structure. You were talking about dishonest structures last week, Charlie, and I wrote it down and I'm working on a video on it. I carry around dishonest structures that come from my past experiences, my conditioned thinking, my skewed beliefs about the world and the way I think it should be, which is all based in my conditioned thinking and past experiences. So if I consider the thought before the emotion came up and I challenge that and do cognitive reappraisal on it, I look at it differently. I ask myself, is this even true? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? This thought, 9 out of 10 times, it isn't true. And then the emotion starts to settle down because it's not based in truth. It's based in fear, which is false evidence appearing real. It's based in the past, and it's based in conditioned thinking.
Wow. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, Brenda. When I was in the beginning of my divorce, I know all divorce is a nightmare. I guess I'm an overachiever. I had the most nightmare of all nightmares, right? And I could not get out of the negative emotion. It literally took over. My hair fell out. It was horrific, and I couldn't get out of it. And I mean, I was looking up YouTube videos. I tried Mel Robbins 5 4 3 2 1. That did not work, right? It was like, oh my God,
Grow
nothing.
back.
So one day out of nowhere, I literally was just sitting and I thought, when did I feel the best in life? When did I feel the best? And it was when I was 10 years old. I fell in love with soccer and I met my best friend in the whole world, and because of soccer, right? So all I kept thinking was, it was soccer. Well, I was like in my late 40s at this time, right? And I'm not playing soccer anymore. So I didn't know what else to do. I literally went through my garage, got one of my daughter's soccer balls, put it in my Jeep, and went down to a hockey rink, like a skating hockey rink, and started kicking the ball against the wall in that hockey rink. And just doing that started getting that negative out, and not necessarily negative out, but the good emotion was coming in and pushing everything else out. To this day, at least twice a week, I'll go in and kick the soccer ball for a little while, because it just keeps refilling that emotion tank of pure happiness. No matter what's going on, I probably look like, I'm going to be 53 years old. I probably look like a nut, right? As I'm hitting this ball against the wall. So it's just, I'm interested to know, both of you, your feedback on what is that?
Can I jump out of turn here, Charlie?
Permission granted, but I'm not in charge of that. But go on.
So it's, I did a video recently. I do these little psychology videos and put them out on our YouTube channel. And the power of play raises your frequency. And not only did you play, but you played, you remembered an emotion, a time in your life when you were happy and young and free-spirited, and you didn't have the weight of these adult problems on you. And as you were playing, you were thinking about that. And that raises your frequency very high. Playing and laughter is one of the highest frequencies that you can achieve in your brain. The only thing higher than playing and laughter is authenticity. That brings you into a frequency that it matches the highest level of frequency you get during meditation. So that's what you were experiencing. You were changing your frequency from a low vibrational negative frequency to experiencing something that took you literally out of your body.
Wow.
And Kristen, I remember when we were, formed a business and we were starting, and you would come into a meeting and you would have you might be a little sweaty and all that. And you're like, sorry, I just got back. I was playing soccer. With who? Myself. I'm like, well, that's got to be tiring. Kicking me all the way and running and playing defense, offense. Oh no, you scored on me. You kicking the walls, and it's very. You were like, talk about thriving. When you would go do those types of workouts, you'd come in and you were on fire. And and I was like, okay, this gal plays soccer alone. But you see what it did. Yeah, like Brenda said, you brought yourself into that bondage of self that you were in. You brought yourself back to a time in your life when you were free, and you thought, I got so much value, so much grace and enjoyment out of soccer. I'm going to do that because I don't know what else to do. And that's great. Really our higher selves will always give us the answer. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know what to do because I'm going down. This isn't working what I'm doing. Play soccer. Now I play soccer too with my dog. I kick the ball. He brings it back.
My dogs are dumb. They don't understand the coming back.
I get a heck of a workout. Now we're on to our last letter and coming to the end of today's podcast, which is R again. And this letter, this is risk. somewhere I like. But without risk, you don't grow. Without challenge, you don't grow. With risk, you might fail. You might fail if you take a risk. You might do it wrong. You might look stupid. Of course, that's my thinking. You might, all these things can happen. You might get hurt in my case. Um, so we kind of step away from risk because it puts me out there. But I can tell you, those of us that are thriving take risks. And that could be asking somebody out on a date, changing what you eat. It could be so minimal, but anything that's taking you out of your daily program and you start introducing or asking for help or sharing a problem with someone, those are all risks because vulnerability was not an area I was comfortable in. Now, not a problem at all. But so risk, risk, risk. Now we go into this. It's kind of weird going so fast, but that's okay because this is an overview of the Thriver formula.
I love the Thriver formula so far. I think I'm going to have to sign up for a class with you guys. Risk is, I was always afraid to take risks, but I was taking them anyway. Fear would hold me back from taking risks, and we've talked about fear as being false evidence appearing real. And if you really look at what you're really afraid of and you just really peel that onion and look at it, it's not real. The things that you're afraid of aren't real. They're not happening. And if you're thinking about, you're afraid of something that's might happen in the future, that's not here. It doesn't exist. The future isn't here. My sponsor used to tell me to just look at my feet and stay where my feet are when I'm future tripping, which would keep me from taking risks. But, because of this work that we've done, Charlie, and the work that we continue to do and working with others, taking risks, I've become really comfortable taking risks today. Taking risks is how I learn. If I'm not willing to take any risks, I'm not going to learn what works for me or what doesn't work for me, what path I should be on or what path I shouldn't be on. I don't even think about it that way anymore. It is what it is. I just take the risk and see what happens. I'm not talking about crazy risks, but I listen to my intuition today that says, hey, why don't you try this? I go for it. I just do it.
To make this real practical for people that are listening, when I had that first blindness diagnosis with my son, the biggest risk I took when I had no idea how to raise him to be a thriver, let alone I was just trying to survive it, right? And I went to a conference for his blindness. It's a very rare pediatric blindness. And there was a conference that I went to, and I write about this in my book, Thriving Blind, that now the audiobook is out there. I literally start the book with, I was walking down the center aisle of that conference. And I say in the book, I was walking away from my dreams and into my nightmare. But I had to learn about something that I had no idea about, right? I had to go and start learning and getting the tools that I needed. And interestingly enough, when I was walking down that center aisle of the conference, on the right, there was a girl in her teens that was totally blind and was screaming at her parents for bringing her the wrong cookie and the wrong juice. This is a teenager, right? And they looked exhausted and they're running around trying to get that for her. Literally right across the aisle was a teenage boy and his mom also in an argument, but they were in one of those whisper arguments, right? She was talking through her teeth. They were in an argument because he believed that the hallways of the hotel they were staying in were perfect for practicing skateboarding. And she said that was inappropriate. That was their argument. And I at that moment, I was like, I want to sit with them. I don't know how I'm ever going to get to arguing with my blind child about skateboarding, but that was the argument I wanted to have, not whether I serve them the right cookie or not, right? Mm-hmm. That was making that decision to go into that conference was one of the hardest things because I did not want to know anything about blindness, but I had to. So we had to take that one next right step, that one risk, to go learn something. And how cool is this? All these years later, I just published the children's book last year, and it's 6 characters that are actually real people in this world that are blind. And one of them is the blind skateboarder. His name is Justin Bishop. And how about that for his whole platform is let your kids get out there and take risks. Blind kids, whatever, let them be risk takers because that's how you learn everything you all just talked about. But all these years later, right now, he's this champion blind skateboarder. I mean, think about that for all the people that are listening to this right now. When you think about what kind of risk is that, right? You can take the little risk to ask somebody out on a date. You could take a risk to go learn something that you need to learn. If he's out there with his white cane on a skateboard doing that whole jump thing and everything. But yeah, I mean, taking that, man, it's so hard sometimes to take that risk. But boy, and Charlie talks about this wonderfully all the time about not having regrets, right? Like, doesn't that just bury you down having regrets because you didn't take that risk? But what if you do all the good that could come?
Yeah, I mean, I would try skateboarding and then find out, first of all, when you fall, it kind of hurts, okay? And secondly, I'm not that isn't going to be something I want to get better at, but I tried. And I was there in watching Justin. He would put a sound device on the edge of the bowl. Now, skateboard parks, they have all these whoop-de-doos and bowls, kind of like a motocross track. I like that better than skateboards, motorcycles. And he would come at it and he could hear, and then he would go up and then flip the skateboard around and go back down. And he had a cane the whole time, a white cane. And he was good. And even just imagine when I used to snow ski, I'm like, oops, I didn't see that drop. Because snow is white and there's not much contrast. So, but it didn't stop me. I didn't think this isn't fair. They need to paint the snow when it changes so I can see it, And now, and this cookie sucks, I hear you. That is the sad thing that we face in the academy quite a bit, that parents, they don't get it. Because they don't want to see the kids suffer. They're learning. And they don't want to suffer. They don't want to see their kid in pain. Too bad. You shouldn't have had kids. Kristen's a good cop. I'm usually the bad cop.
Yes. I'm the hugger and he's the lecturer.
Get over it now. But that's what makes it work. And risk is critical. And of course, well thought out, with good intention, good motive. Some aren't thought out, whatever. I won't go down. That's gosh, every one of these letters, I think we're going to have a week-long seminar, Kristen.
I think that you're right. I mean, we can really go on and on with these things. I should say, let me just say this. All these elements of the Thriver formula, and especially that taking that risk going to that conference. I mean, my Michael graduated summa cum laude from Penn State University, and he was the commencement marshal for the School of Communications. And this is what I want people to have in their minds. You take that risk he needed to thrive, and he led the School of Communications into that stadium. All the kids, the sighted kids behind him with his white cane, his tools proudly in front of him, a sighted guide on his side who was a professor that taught him how to communicate his value to get the dream job that he did get. He lives in Florida now and works for Disney. And my second blind son is following right behind him. And they take risks every day to go after their dreams. But when you put all of these things into play, thriving is not only possible, it happens.
That's what our Creator created us to thrive, to be happy, joyous, free, to be of service, to not to sit around feeling sorry for ourselves or focus on what lacks, scarcity, what's missing, this sucks, that sucks. That isn't the truth. The truth is that we're here to thrive, and we're here to help you if you're not there now. With 4 easy payments. Just kidding. So seriously, check us out at Thriving Blind Academy. Come back to this wonderful podcast. Yep. Go to Time for a 10 or do nothing. % of people have the habit of making excuses. They just come. Well, it's just a starts to happen. So thank you guys and gals and people.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this has been great. I want to say one thing before we sign off. Actually, two quick things that have been sitting in my brain. One is when you're activated, because Kristen, you were talking about being activated, the soccer was great. That's great. The other thing that you can do is take your shoes off and ground with the earth. When I get home from work at night, I've been walking barefoot on the grass. And the actual electromagnetic. The other thing is, if there's anything that you tell yourself that separates you from everyone else, that you tell yourself that makes you different, is a dishonest structure. It's the separation sickness is destroying the planet. People thinking that they're different and not good enough or better than, all of that. Anything that separates you from the person sitting next to you is not the truth. We're a collective.
Love it, Brenda. And I thought you were going to say, get home from work, take your shoes off and smell it.
No, Charlie.
That'll put you back into, but I'm just kidding. And yeah, this is really good. I'm ready. I'm going to take a risk. All right, so let's go here. Let's see if I did. Oh, yay. So please like, subscribe, and share this. Come on. Does that sound like I'm begging? And we will see you next Saturday. I'll be seeing you and off.